Humankind is out! Today I'm playing my first game of the launch. Before we start, I can create my own avatar. I couldn't really get it to look much like me, but this is the best I can manage. I'm going to jump straight in with the standard settings, hardest difficulty, and some new AI avatars to challenge. Let's see what the full release of the game has to offer. The first thing we need to do is to scout around, find some food, and figure out where to settle our mighty city. I got an event that added a group of children to my tribe. I recently tried Frostpunk, so I know it's completely fine to put them straight to work hunting dangerous animals. Together. I found our first neighbour. They're already claiming territory around here, but I'm not sure they've got building permits for that. This hilltop oasis is a perfect spot to found our civilization. There are many rivers around, and we can easily attach a lot of nearby territories to speed up our growth. I don't like that these guys are hanging around so close to my capital, so I'm going to give them a stern warning and burn down their outpost. As most of the AI have already progressed to the next era, their scouts are stronger than my basic tribesmen, and with the difficulty modifier, my people still take a lot of damage fighting 4-on-1. Most of the cultural options have already been taken, so I'm going to start this game off as the Egyptians. To get our capital going as fast as possible, I need to add some outposts to the city and start putting up some pyramids. So these guys are led by Gilgamesh, apparently.
Yes, greetings.
I guess there are still a couple of bugs. They seem to be pretty upset about what they're calling my wanton aggression. I think I'll have to raise a proper army and show them the error of their ways. They have offered me a non-aggression pact. Pretty cheeky given they just attacked me twice. We seem to have spawned on a bit of a peninsula, with the only way we can go blocked by Gilgamesh. To make sure my people have enough space to grow, we're going to have to aggressively contest the land around here. Unsurprisingly, the AI are already starting to run away on the fame score, but we'll try to catch up later. With my forces assembled, it's time to begin the war.
We have exhausted peace.
I've only got one proper army, but all the food gathering in the nomadic era has left me with a lot of scouts I can use to bolster our forces. I've encountered their main troops in the middle of the desert. The Nubians do have these special Tarseti archers, so we'll have to use these hills to our advantage and try to take them out quickly. While I was distracted, they've managed to sneak another force around, headed straight for my capital. We'll need to quickly raise more men to defend. I've also spotted their stronger troops arriving in the west. I need to try to pull back my invasion to friendly territory, so our units can heal up and avoid getting isolated. They've besieged our home! Every turn the city is under siege, it's unable to produce, and given we only have one city, that amount of lost time could put us ridiculously far behind. So we've got no choice but to sally forth. Our archers defended by militia can deal with their warriors, while our scout cavalry can try to run down their Nubian bows. With the capital saved, it's time to regroup and prepare the counterattack. I finished researching the wheel, so now the master plan can come full circle. With the money gained from ransacking Gilgamesh's outposts, I can just about afford to upgrade my archers into the unique Egyptian chariot archers. With these guys, we can strike at Kerma itself. I'm going to risk the auto-resolve here, since it allows the fight to end in a single turn instead of letting the enemy stall and bring in their nearby reinforcements. It costs us a couple of units, but the city is ours. Just in time too. They have two strong armies in the west, and it looks like we have another player that's taken advantage and stolen Gilgamesh's city over there. The war is won, and the first thing I've noticed is the devs have massively increased the war score needed to vassalize another player. But I can still take their main city and some of their land for my own.
You are generous and well appreciated.
Our new neighbours are the Greeks, led by Walanong Sari. It looks like they are all that's west of me, so it'll be difficult to expand much more on this continent. They are friendly to us since we were fighting the same people though, so I probably won't have to worry about being invaded anytime soon. I've exchanged maps with these guys, so now we can look at the bigger picture. It looks like we've got two long thin continents, and we're on the southern one. Up in the north we've got Shilbruk, Agamemnon, and Beowulf. It's no surprise to learn that those two are already fighting. Now that we know where we stand, I'm going to advance to the next tier as the Carthaginians. Focusing on trade should be a really strong option in this situation, and all the coastal water we've got should make their unique docks very strong here. There are still a lot of skirmishes with Gilgamesh's men. A big group of them wandered into my desert, and now I've kind of trapped them there. By withdrawing my outstanding demands, I can gain an instant boost to war support, enough to restart our war on these guys. Since we took the capital city, they aren't really much of a challenge anymore, so we should be able to walk straight over them. Meanwhile, my religion has reached the second tier. The devs have also improved the options for tenets by making them more specialised to let us tailor our playstyle. I'm going to take Purge Idleness. It gives +2 food on every tile along our giant coastline. Food is about to be extremely plentiful. I tried to tell our enemies the good news, but they seem a little preoccupied. With the entirety of their lands now occupied by us, we can force Gilgamesh to surrender. I could vassalize the AI now, but it'd be much better to just take the last of their territory instead.
I can tell you that our gratitude is
I got a nice little
boundless.
trophy as a reward. Oh. As another bonus, I found the Great Barrier Reef is just offshore, and it's free real estate. Gilgamesh's old capital has some excellently placed gemstone deposits. They give adjacency bonuses to market districts, so we can make a lot of money here. We're doing pretty well on score, second only to Wollonong. Currently we're allied, but we may need to do something about her in the future. Particularly since her influence generation is converting my people to her culture. Although on the plus side, this does mean that I keep getting science boosts from the osmosis events. Since money is clearly going to be our game for a while now, I'm going to take the Ghanaians. They can generate a lot of gold from trade routes, and I'm trading a lot with every other player right now. Some of my ships have also discovered the new world, so I'm going to prioritise researching techs that will let me settle it as fast as I can, before any of the AI can get there. We're not going to have too much to do for a while now other than build up our new cities, so I think it's time for a jazz-based intermission. Enough smooth jazz, it's time to get serious. The old version of the Joseon from the open devs would have been perfect here since they used to give science for all coastal tiles, but now they've been nerfed quite a bit, which they did need. So instead I'm going to take the Venetians so we can squeeze as much money as possible out of our trade routes. My expedition is headed out to the New World. There are lots of independent tribes there, but none of the AI is settling it yet, so there's lots of land to take. My religion is finally being overpowered by our neighbours, but it did manage to hold out long enough to get the final tier and unlock a full set of tenets to use. While I'm allied to everyone in the game, this does give Wollonong a huge amount of war support against me through religious grievances. I've settled my first city in the New World. Thanks to my large gold income, I can get this place set up very quickly. I'm going to split up my forces to quickly colonise the continent. I can also hire some of these tribes' mercenaries to speed it up. Quick tip, if you need to get more unit kills to grab militarist stars, attacking independent tribes counts towards that score. A new part of the game is now also showing up, pollution. I don't know what it's going to do yet, but our neighbour is starting to produce it with their new coal resource. I have taken the lead in fame, so we're looking good. But this AI is actually doing a pretty good job of keeping pace for once. I think we're going to have to do something about that. Given their large military, I'll need to spend some time preparing and building up some forces. Currently Wollonong is at war with Shulbrook, so my plan is to strike once her armies are distracted and not defending her homeland. I do need to catch up a bit in science, since I focus so much on money for most of this game. So for the industrial era, I'm going to pick the French. Their exhibition halls should generate a lot of science. It seems only right that I build the Eiffel Tower as well. The colonizing in the New World is going very well. Wollongong has reached the final era in the game. Apparently, if she now reaches 21 era stars, the game immediately ends. I've decided that's an illegal move, so clearly she has to die. I've been given some interesting options here. My religion has been almost completely destroyed, so it would make sense to use one of the irreligious civics. Secularism would make me immune to religious grievances, which are building up massively. But the thing is, even though my religion has been dominated, I can still use my tenets if I don't activate one of those civics, and the extra food from coastal tiles and the gold from the trade routes is really useful to me. As long as I believe in my religion, no one else has to, right? It's about time. I've been allied to these guys for most of the game, but thankfully their support is already maxed out due to the religious situation, so when I break loads of our deals, it can't actually increase it for them. Most of their armies aren't on this continent anymore, so this is the perfect time to strike. I just need to make sure I've got fleets around, ensuring these armies don't make a surprise return and start attacking me from behind. I've built train stations throughout my territory so I can quickly reposition and bring up reinforcements. I've got artillery units to support my line infantry and naval support on both coasts in case I need them. With mostly just these citizen draftees to defeat, I can quickly capture the cities on my border, which just so happen to be Wollongong's main research centres. I finally got a proper naval battle. I've put some of my infantry units on transport ships to act as meat shields for my ironclads. I've just about managed to keep all my ships afloat. The capital itself is also pretty undefended, so this is actually quite a one-sided conflict. I am once again completely unable to vassalize the AI no matter what. The war score cost to do so is way above what's currently possible. Presumably it's calculated based on the player's relative strength, or maybe just their overall size. I can't take too much in the terms of surrender, but I can take both of those large research cities. This massively increases my population and my science output, so it is a good result. The New World is pretty much all eaten up now. The rest of the independent tribes have all been assimilated, so a few different people have cities on it now. Unsurprisingly, just like in Endless Legends, the yields seem like they get a little out of hand in the late game. Many of my cities can produce multiple new districts very quickly, and with over 18,000 science per turn, I can research any tech in the contemporary era with ease. And thus, we've researched fusion reactors by the year 1075 AD, just in time for the Crusades. I have also reached one of the most important techs in any game like this: nuclear fission. In Humankind, this unlocks a civic's choice to either be able to build nukes, or gain grievances against others who try to build them. There is very clearly a superior choice out of these two. Before we can build any missiles, we need to conduct a few tests. We need to use some spare land in our territory for these, but each one allows us to construct larger weapons and gives us a bit of fame as a bonus. The pollution is starting to do something. The level has increased to low. We get a grievance against whoever has polluted the most, and apparently every city in the game loses a bunch of stability and food. Happily, with all the luxury resources I've got, stability really isn't much of an issue anymore. It's time to test out some of these contemporary era units to see what they're like. I've declared war on Wollongong, again. This time I've been joined by my ally Beowulf the British, who has immediately seized control of one of the Brazilian cities on his continent. The first thing to test out are these cruise missiles. We can launch them from silos to bombard an area. They seem to have an AoE, but they don't seem to do much to structures. I can try the rest of our tech by attacking their capital again. I've got modern rifles, tanks, helicopters, battleships, and bombers stationed on an aircraft carrier. These guys are seriously strong. Even though they're not directly involved in the battle, any bombardment units we have in range are allowed to fire into a battlefield, and they do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, we still don't have very much to fight other than these drafted citizens. The AI hasn't learnt much from our last war. This time they have a couple of cities in the New World though, so we can capture these as well. The missiles are even more powerful than the bombers. I can see they don't do gigantic damage to modern units of the same era though, so they're probably not quite as ridiculous as they currently seem. Since I've managed to grab all the era stars for the industrial era, I can now head up to the final contemporary era as the Americans. Although, having been a science affinity culture as the French, I've had tech from this era for a while, of course. A few more cities to run over with our superior tech and this game is over. Some of the final techs in the game let us build satellites that provide a bunch of fame and permanent vision over large sections of the map. The space race system works kind of the same way. Build a series of cultural wonders that culminate with a mission to Mars. Once someone does that final one, then the game ends the next turn. Of course, unlike in the Civilization series, it's not necessarily a win condition since whoever has the most fame is actually the winner in this game. There are only a couple more techs left to research, which would also end the game, but there is one question that I really must answer before I'm done here. Just how good are nuclear missiles? When you use a nuke in Humankind, you can only target city centres it looks like, and it doesn't launch until the next turn, which gives everyone else a chance to launch their missiles if it comes to a standoff. I'm looking forward to some serious Armageddon scenarios in the future, but this time is consequence free, baby! Apparently the world is about to end. From pollution. Seems appropriate. My game has started to have some weird graphics going on, so clearly everything is coming apart. Thankfully my people have already escaped to Mars, so we're gonna be fine. It looks like nukes utterly destroy cities. We do appear to be able to rebuild outposts in the territory to claim them, but we can't use the wasteland tars left behind in the explosion. But now the world is no longer habitable, so that ends the game.
First among equals, peerless among peers. Without inflating your ego too much, it must be said that you have claimed the mythic place in the tumultuous history of humankind.
I've got an easy first place with 22,300 fame, while Anongsari and Gilbrook get second and third respectively. The AI scores weren't doing too badly, but on Humankind difficulty you kinda still expect them to keep up a bit better. Although to be fair, I think the Brazilians were on track to do a lot better before I invaded and took over their cities. I wasn't really worrying too much about maximising my fame score this game, but we still did pretty well. Constantly getting science boosts from the cultural influence of my neighbours moved me along the tech tree a bit faster, which encouraged me to progress through the eras before getting all their stars. But that allowed us to get nukes before the AI, so can't complain.